Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to our /EntitledPeople, where people do think they can do what they want, when they want, because they're super special. And in today's episode, we've got Karens who seriously need to mind their own business. We've got cops getting called, tantrums getting thrown. It's a head shaker today. So yeah, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the stories today. And as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. This happened to me a few years back. I worked as a junior facility manager at one of the office and conference buildings of our church. I often ran late shifts, preparing for the next day, which included closing down and then securing the building for the night. Since I was just in facility management and I was working late shifts and no one was there anyways, I usually just wore some black army clothes to work since they're comfortable and robust, as well as a pair of army boots and an old oil-filled cap. There were multiple entries that I had to close down at night and take care of that nobody was left in the building. Finally, I would make my last round around the building, testing if every door was really locked, since sometimes the locking mechanism wouldn't snap properly. Unfortunately, the building was at city center, between the town hall and a police station, so it was just a matter of time before I got to know some of my city's finest. This night, I was doing what I needed to do when out of nowhere, I hear, "That's him, officer." I turn around to see this old lady pointing at me and see two officers are leaving their car. Officer 1 approaches me and says, "Good evening, might I ask what we're doing here?" Me, a bit annoyed, said, "I'm doing my job. I'd like to be gone in about 5 minutes, so..." That's when Officer number 2 stops me and says, "Well, we would appreciate it if you'd refrain from doing your work in front of a police station. We've had some reports about you trying to break into the building." Upon hearing that, the woman, who's standing about 30 feet away, says, "I saw you trying to smash windows on the building." Officer 1 tells her, "You can go now, we'll handle this." The woman just walks off, and at this point, I'm getting pissed at this nosy woman, and very much thinking that this has to be some kind of harassment, as they've had no proof. I say to the officer, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I've smashed no windows, and I'll be gone as soon as I've taken care of this." The moment I reach for my pocket to get the keys, I find myself harshly interrupted. The officer says, "Hands where we can see them. Step away from this door, now." Me, freezing in midair and finally realizing the situation, say, "I'm sorry, I get it." And it seems like my looks weren't too convincing. Officer 1 says, "I don't think you get it. Are you stupid? We're literally standing right beside you and you're trying to pull this BS." He says that while grabbing my arm and shaking his head. I respond, "No sir, you don't understand. I'm an employee and I'm trying to do my work and I've got to..." Officer 2 stops me and says, "Yeah, well, your work looks quite like breaking and entering, so if you'd just come with us." By now, I was annoyed, pissed, and desperate. It was now past my shift and I couldn't leave with 2 open doors. And being this late, they might just keep me overnight at the station until the next morning. That's when I tell the officers, "Listen, you're about to leave this door unlocked and open for everyone else to walk in." That's when Officer 1 says to Officer 2 while raising an eyebrow, "Would you go around to the main entrance and try to contact their facility management?" Officer 2 walks away, and sure enough, about a minute later, my phone starts ringing. Officer 1 says to me, "Take your phone out slowly and turn it off." By then, Officer number 2 returns with his cell phone on his ear, trying to reach anyone as I take mine and end the call. Officer 2 says, "They hung up, I'll try again." Some seconds later, my cell phone starts ringing again. Officer 1 just gives me this annoyed nod. He's clearly too occupied by trying to get someone on the line that he doesn't put 1 and 1 together. I tell him, "Officer, the person you guys are trying to reach is me. Now, can I finally lock this door as I was about to do before you interrupted me?" Long story short, they were rather friendly after that, and they even asked me if I would like a ride home since the whole thing delayed me past the last train. I accepted, as they were just cruising and doing patrol anyways. They told me that they were turning out of the police station when this woman flagged them down about a man acting suspicious. She was convinced I was smashing windows. In the end, they were quite nice guys, and they were annoyed as I was about the whole situation. We had a good laugh afterwards. Seriously, thank goodness it had that ending, because things could have gone way worse for OP. And shame on that Karen for exaggerating, trying to get OP in trouble. Like, I get that she was a concerned citizen, but man, there's no need to lie to cops telling them that someone's smashing windows when they aren't. But yeah, just both parties trying to do their job, and like OP said, at least they got a nice story out of it. And this person comments and shares their encounter with the Karen who accused them of stealing. This person says, "My senior year of high school, I worked at Starbucks. The one Saturday I worked, I had my school bag with me to do some homework when I was done. My manager was working that day too, and she was at the register. After my shift, I moved my laptop to a table, but I left my jacket and backpack in the back room. After about an hour, I was done, so I get up, went to grab my stuff before refilling my cup of water. As soon as I walked back out into the cafe, this woman waiting for her drink starts screaming that I was a thief and that someone had to call the cops. My manager walks over to defuse the situation, explaining that I'm an employee. I just left my stuff in the back to do some homework. This woman was still screaming when a cop happened to walk in. Now, this cop was a regular, and he would come in twice a week, so he knew me as well. The woman starts screaming how great it was that he was there, and that he needed to arrest me for stealing money and a laptop. The officer starts laughing, and he also explained that I'm an employee. The woman left about 15 minutes later, still complaining and still saying that nobody is doing their jobs. Now, I don't know why it took the manager and a cop to tell her, but I was just happy she left so I could go home. Again, I just don't get how people blatantly lie like that to get others in trouble, guys. Especially in an establishment that's guaranteed to have cameras, Karen. But who knows, like maybe her plan was, I'll expose this thief, and they'll be so grateful that I'll get caramel macchiatos for life. And seriously, with all the insane posts that I read, guys, I wouldn't put that one past her. So for context, I'm an 18-year-old female, and I just recently started at this big chain auto parts store, even though I know nothing about vehicles and how to fix them. I'm getting by fairly well, and I haven't had a complaint about my advice yet, so fingers crossed. Also, I'm very short, like 5 foot even, and I do have a baby face, so I often get mistaken for being 12 years old, despite having pink pastel hair and a nose piercing. When this happened, I was closing that night, when I was restocking the shelves. Our stores equip each location with very tall rolling ladders, clearly marked employees only, to help safely stock heavy parts on higher shelves. It was late there, so only a few customers in the store. So I was stocking the top shelves where we keep our car wash supplies, when I noticed that this older lady keeps staring at me. I finally ask her if there's anything I can help her find, and the following conversation ensues. Karen says to me, "Young lady, you know those ladders are for employees only, right?" Hearing that, I'm a bit confused since I'm literally stocking shelves and I had jeans on with a top that had my name stitched on it, company policy. So I tell Karen, yes ma'am, I'm an employee here, I started a few weeks ago. I then point to the logo on my work shirt. Karen looks me up and down and she says, "Aren't you a little young to be working here? I thought they don't hire until 18. I then start to explain to her that I am in fact 18 and I'm an employee. But Karen says, "I don't believe you. Now, could you get down from there right now? I'm not joking, you could get seriously hurt. You know you can get kicked out for playing on store equipment, right?" At this point, I tell her, "Ma'am, don't worry, I'm an employee here. I'm just doing my job." I then turn around, roll my eyes, and attempt to go back to stocking the shelves when this psycho woman marches up to me and she grabs my ankle and tries to pull me off a 6-foot ladder. The whole time, she's screaming, "Get down, now." Now keep in mind, these ladders are as old as the store and they aren't the most sturdy. So I grip the handles and I pray it doesn't fall over while yelling at her to leave me alone. The woman is still screaming, "You shouldn't be up here, you could get hurt," which is ironic, I know. At this point, my manager hears the commotion and comes out the back to see what's going on. She walks around the corner to see Karen shaking my leg, and me trying to get out of her death grip before the ladder falls over. The manager screams, "Ma'am, what are you doing? Stop, she could fall." Karen says she shouldn't even be up here. You all are so useless and you're opening yourselves up to a lawsuit if you're letting kids climb your ladders like this. Why is nobody keeping an eye out for these things? So while Karen's distracted, I quickly shake my ankle out of her death grip, and I speed down the ladder to my manager. My manager tells her, "Ma'am, this young lady, we hired her 2 weeks ago." That's when Karen says, "I don't believe it. Then prove it. Show me her work schedule and her ID." Manager tells her, "First of all, I'm not showing you anyone's schedule, so you can come here and harass my staff. She doesn't have anything to prove to you, so please leave the store before I call the police." And that's when Karen says, "I will gladly call the police." She then pulls her phone out and she dials 911. At this point, I'm so shaken up and tired, I just want to go home. My manager sends me to the back to try to finish my duties before we close. About 10 minutes later, the police show up, and Karen starts screaming how I was being a safety hazard and kicked her in the face. The police just looked at me and again assume that I'm a kid until my manager explains to them what actually happened. The police request security footage, which we happily show them. Of course, it caught Karen physically harassing me. And of course, she argued and she starts yelling that she was only looking out for my safety and she did nothing wrong. Obviously, the cops don't buy it, and they told her if she was truly concerned for my safety, she should have taken it up with the manager on duty instead of physically grabbing someone like that and trying to pull them off. They end up escorting her out and she continued screaming. I told them I don't want to press charges as she didn't end up hurting me at all. It's been about a week since this incident and I haven't seen her thankfully, but I think it's safe to say I might not last long in this business, lol. Oh boy, Karen logic never ceases to amaze, right? "Get off that ladder, it's so dangerous," she said, while trying to pull someone off a frickin' ladder. Like, are you serious, Karen? With that said though, let me know if you think OP should have absolutely pressed charges. Because the only way that some people truly learn is when they face consequences. Just like the idiot in this next post, guys. For some reference, I work in hotels, and when this happened, I was the night manager. One late night, I had this customer walking back and forth between his room and the lobby while shouting into his cell phone. The guy was disturbing other customers who were trying to sleep. I get a few calls complaining about the noise, so I went to the room in question and knock on his door. I say, "Excuse me, sir, I've had some complaints from other guests who are trying to sleep. I don't mind you using your cell phone, but I will have to ask you to keep the volume down while you're here." The guy says, okay, I will. Thank you." Roughly 10 minutes later, the guy's shouting into his phone once more, getting really loud, and the complaints come to me once again. So I go visit him and say, "Excuse me, sir, you've gotten quite loud again. I need you to keep it down so people can get their rest." That's when the guy shouts at me and says, "Shut the F up. Stop being a baby about this and go complain to the damn staff. In fact, call the cops." He then slams the door in my face. So I did exactly what he asked. I called up the cops and told them what transpired, and I told them I wanted to kick him off this property. The police arrived quickly, and they accompanied me to his room, where I knocked on the door and the guy answered. Upon seeing the cops, the guy says, "Are you effing kidding me?" I tell him, "Sir, I did exactly as you said. I brought the police into the matter. I want you off the property and you're no longer welcome to stay here." The guy of course puts up a fight and he says, "I'm not leaving." Cop number 1 says, "You heard him." The guy again says, "You're letting this nobody kick me out?" The cops then look at me and then back at the guest, and cop number 2 says, "You see that shirt? Do you see the name tag? Both of those have this hotel's logo on them. He came up here twice asking you to keep quiet while people are trying to sleep, and you tell him to bring us into this." And this is the sweetest part. We come to find that this man was part of a work crew. He had a crew chief who was staying on the property, and I did give 2 attempts to call him. One to his room, no answer, and once to his mobile, also no answer. Apparently, the chief thought it would be a great idea to go clubbing that night and leave his phone off. Upon finding out that his worker was no longer welcome at our hotel, he canceled the week-long stay at our place to put up a fight, saying we don't deserve his company's business. On top of the cancellation fees the company had to pay, which I don't think they'd be too happy with, the other fact is we were the only good hotel in this small town. The other place was this dingy motel, which they end up staying at. What a satisfying outcome that was, guys. And hey, the idiot got exactly what he asked for. But yeah, the entitlement of that man, right? I didn't realize he was an employee, so I figured I could be a total a-hole to him with no repercussion. I seriously hope the dude learned a lesson at the very least. So this happened a few years ago while I was working at a will-not-be-named drugstore. Some of the details are fuzzy, but I'll paraphrase as best I can. So at this said drugstore, we have a booth where people can buy lottery tickets, cash their winnings, all that stuff. I was working said booth when what can be described as your typical Karen walks in, wanting to check some lotto tickets. The woman hands over 2 lotto tickets. I run them through the prize reader, and it says prize already collected, meaning the woman had taken these tickets elsewhere, collected her cash winnings, and now she opted to take the winning tickets with her to another store. This meant, at best, she mixed up her tickets. At worst, this woman was trying to run a scam, though why she thought it would work, I'm unsure. So of course I tell the woman, "Miss, the system is showing you've already cashed these tickets, meaning you've received the prize." I then put the tickets down on the counter in front of her, and Karen says, "That is ridiculous. There's this prize on this one and X prize on this one. Go get your manager, I want my prizes." "As you wish, my minivan princess." So I get the manager, and the manager tells her, "Miss, you've already claimed these prizes. There's nothing we can do." Of course, Karen does as Karens do, and the woman flips out. I was also a new hire at the time, so my manager handles her as I just stand back and watch. Eventually, something clicks, and Karen hears for the first time what I told her 10 minutes ago. She calms down, but not for long. The crisis is averted, and my manager returns to her office. Karen says, "Where are my tickets?" I let her know I placed them on the counter in front of you. They're garbage anyways, since there's no prize on them. Karen says, "I didn't take them. Someone stole them. I keep all my lotto tickets, so where are they?" Me, giving her some side-eye, say, I'm not sure. I'll check around." No lotto tickets were found anywhere at my station, but again, the tickets are worthless. She then returns to her primal state and she says, "Well, I don't have them, so clearly you all are thieves. You stole them, so call the police right now or I will." This time, I go to my manager's office and inform her of the situation. We decide if this woman wants the cops involved, then very well, we'll oblige. We call first because if she calls, she'll likely say something nuts and cruisers will roll up, prepared for an armed robbery or something, which would be a huge waste of police resources. We also decide to call because perhaps this is a good time for Karen to learn the appropriate use of emergency services. I call the non-emergency line and tell Karen to sit tight. We live in a quiet suburb-like town in our city, so a single officer arrives shortly after. I speak to the officer and inform them of the situation, noting specifically that we called in the best interest of the situation. Karen and the officer step into the break room to chat. What I hope occurred was a stern talking to, followed by some crocodile tears and a hefty fine. Unfortunately, I don't believe this occurred, and since I couldn't hear their talk from my station, I can't say with any certainty what happened in there. That said, I can piece together that it wasn't pleasant, as a flesh-faced, purse falling off her shoulder, tip-tap, walk-running Karen emerged, and she made a beeline straight for the exit, not making eye contact with anyone. Oh, the satisfaction of a lightly cursing Karen struggling to find her sunglasses in the cosmic wasteland of her purse. The officer did stop by briefly to let me know that this issue has been resolved, and I can tell he enjoyed it, having been on the same side in the battle against Karens. Listen, I sure hope Karen wasn't trying to scam, because if she was, she would be so not smart to want the cops involved, right? Also, I don't know where this takes place, but in my experience, lottery tickets must be signed and handed over to get your winnings. I've never heard of someone winning, collecting, and then keeping the tickets. And guys, if you enjoyed that post, take a listen to this next one. When I was a young teenager, the day this happened, I had on all black because I was feeling sad. I walked past a woman looking worried about something. I felt bad, so I went up to the woman and I asked her what was wrong. I saw that she had a child with her. The child was crying, and the woman responded to me by saying, "It was you, wasn't it? I know you stole my daughter's monkey toy, so give it back, you a-hole." Keep in mind, I had never seen this woman, and I was 14 years old, so I had no reason to steal a monkey from a child. So naturally, I respond with, "I'm sorry, but it wasn't me. I hope you find it though. Also, don't call me an a-hole, I've done nothing wrong." The mother then proceeds to say this. She says, "Well, you look very shady and you're dressed like a thief, so I'm calling the police." Now, I was shocked as she judged me by what I was wearing. The Karen then gets out her phone and she dials 911. Moving on, being the 14-year-old that I was, I start yelling at this mother to not do that as bad things will happen. I thought it was really cool, don't judge me. I then tried to walk away, but this crazy woman holds me by my arm and she waited until the police came. Like half an hour passes and the police arrive. I explain that I did nothing wrong and the woman was acting stupid. Keep in mind, the child had calmed down and seemed to have stopped caring. She then says, "This idiot stole my daughter's toy and threatened me." I immediately corrected her, telling her no. Anyways, the police said the most they could do was to talk to me for a second and question me. They did this while the mom's storming around smoking cigarettes. The police don't question me beyond "did I take it?" and they tell me walk away, as they can tell the woman is crazy. I thought they were cool, but now I realize that if I did steal it, the police wouldn't have caught on. The police told the mother to search for the toy. I waited around a bit, only to see the woman find out that the monkey was in her car. So I volunteer for a driving service locally. A few hours per week, I drive the elderly to the doctors and to the shops and such. My only responsibility is to bring them from point A to point B and back. But as it's often very frail, weak, or small people, I go into the shop with them and I help them get stuff off shelves and such because I want to. It's a small community and a number of people do know me in the area. It's fine. I also drive only on Mondays. This happened last Saturday when I went to the shops to do my own shopping. A lady who I'd not seen before, who wasn't the typical Karen and looked like a normal woman in her 50s, just stared at me as I walked past her. I think nothing of this, as people are weird sometimes. I go about my shopping and the woman follows me. Now, I know this because I do a pretty unusual tour through the aisles, since I know what I need and where. Near the register, the woman jams her cart in front of mine, blocking the way. She then says, "Excuse me, since you're obviously free, why haven't you offered to help me?" I stare for a good 15 seconds because I don't know what I could possibly help her with. The thought that she thinks I work there doesn't occur to me. I've never worked a day of retail in my life. I'm a journalist, not even close to what she's after. I respond, "With what?" Karen says, "My shopping." I respond, "If you need help, I suggest an employee." She then says, no, you are free. To which I respond, I don't work here. Karen says, obviously not, you don't think I know that? And this did startle me, as I didn't expect her to agree with me. And that's when I say, then why would I help you? She then says, you work for the local service. I tell her, no, I'm self-employed, I volunteer there on Mondays. She then says, then help me already. By now, other people have started peeking into our aisle. The woman's shrill voice has alerted others. I can see one of the shopkeepers debate on whether or not to step in. Sadly, they don't. I tell her it's not Monday. If it was Monday, I still wouldn't help you because it's a members-only service. You're not a member. And if you were, I still wouldn't help you because my only responsibility is driving people around. I help sometimes because I want to, and I certainly don't want to help you. Karen says, well, I don't care. I tell her, okay then, well, neither do I. I give her card a push and walk past with mine to the register. And I start unloading my stuff. The cashier is giving her and me the side eye because she sees this isn't over. Karen says, if you don't work here, how are you gonna pay for that? You are going to pay, right? This startled both me and the shopkeeper, like it's so dumb that I'm left speechless for half a minute. Apparently, this shop is the only way to earn money now. I don't even know. I tell her, no, I figured that I was gonna bring out a weapon and rob the store, to be honest. It is Saturday, after all. The woman just screams, you are so rude. So I pay for my stuff, and she's still following me, having abandoned her cart in the aisle. I stay near the counter to pack my groceries while she hovers around me still. I tell her, you understand that I'm not gonna help you at all, ever, right? She then says, then I will get you fired. I tell her I'm self-employed. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna fire me. I then manage to make it out the door and put my cart back and carry my stuff to my car. I almost think I ditched her when she appears again right next to me, yelling in my ear. She says, that's not your car. I drive a small Honda. It's nothing fancy, but I own it outright. By now, I was honestly having a laugh at this woman. I then say, then why do my keys unlock the door? She then says, I've seen your car before. I say, we're standing right in front of it. She then says, no, your real car, the Volkswagen. It now dawns on me what she means. The local service that I volunteer for has two brand new, giant 7-seater electric Volkswagens completely covered with stickers, ads, and so on for the driver's service. The cars are white, the stickers are orange and green, very distinct. It's actually tacky, but the cars are great for people with limited movement because they're big. And how anyone could think a car with all those ads belongs to a random person is beyond me, to be honest. I tell Karen, that's not mine, this is. I just drive it sometimes. She then says, that's illegal, you know, I'll call the cops. Right about now, I just tell her, hey, have a great day. By the way, the store's probably put your stuff back by now. The Karen ignores this completely as I get into the car, lowering the window as to not tempt her to open the door or something. She then screams at me some more and says, how did you get this car? Don't make me call the cops. Now, I'm a fairly small woman, just over 5 feet, very friendly face, and generally quite approachable, but I do have a loud voice when I try. So I raise my voice and I say, I effing stole it, you witch. In fact, I murdered the owner as well. If you keep yapping, I'll show you where they're buried. With that, I throw the car in gear and absolutely stomp the pedal to the ground and race to the other end of the parking lot. I see the woman frantically scramble to what I assume to be her car, but by the time she's in it, I've pulled into traffic and I'm pretty much out of her sight. Just for fun, I park a little bit down the road from my place, next to another identical car, just in case she comes looking. Sadly, the woman didn't, and I didn't see her car or her again. I was actually a little nervous that I would get in trouble with the police or something for yelling at the lady, just in case she reported me or something. But it seems she's not that crazy. What a wild post that was, guys, and boy was that woman a bit bonkers. Like, I just don't know how people harass others that hard. Like, that woman went so out of her way to harass OP. Like, what the heck? But yeah, thank goodness the woman lost sight of OP, because I have a feeling she'd be following OP straight to their home. But yeah, that, my friends, is r/entitled people, where people really think they're the main character. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode, where a smug CEO gets taught a lesson they'll never forget. Guys, go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.